Good afternoon, Year 12. This is Mrs. Knight. I'm just going to be talking you through employee motivation in theory. So what we're going to be looking at this afternoon are the main theories of employee motivation and their value. We're going to be looking at a couple of key theorists of Taylor, Maslow, Herzberg, and Elton Mayo. What our key objective is for this session is to look at the value of these theories of motivation and how they can be applied in a work context. What I'd like you to do first of all is have a look at these questions here. What is motivation? Could you give some examples of motivational methods that are used by businesses? Think about what kinds of things motivate you. What motivates you at school? What motivates you if you have a part-time job? What motivates you at home? Also think about what is employee engagement. So think about how people at work can be focused, how they can be engaged in what they are doing. I'm going to pause the video now and let you make some notes, and then we'll come back to this in a moment. Okay, so now you've probably had to think about the different types of methods that would motivate you. Maybe you're motivated by money, maybe you're motivated by success, maybe you're motivated by wanting to be around other people. So motivation is the desire to do something. Sometimes people go to work because they want to have a good salary, and with a good salary you can have a good standard of living, you can have a nice car, a nice house, and so on. Some people are motivated by other factors. They're motivated by status, a job title. Some people are motivated by the desire to help people or to give something back to society. And what we're going to be looking at today is the different theories surrounding motivation and how this can be applied to a business context and how it can be applied to different individuals. Okay. So just going back to employee engagement is the involvement with and the commitment to a person's job. So you could argue that a school teacher, for instance, are very engaged with their job. They're very focused. They're committed to ensuring that all students within their charge are very successful in that particular subject area. You could also argue that maybe someone who works as a part-time job in McDonald's is not all that engaged in their job. They may be there just purely as a means to an end for some income to support their studies or to support their social life. Okay, they may not be as committed to their role as, say, a teacher, for example. Okay, what we're going to focus on today are three classic theories of motivation. We have Taylor, we have Maslow and Herzberg, and we're going to look at all three of these separately. The first one I want to focus on is Taylor. Now, Taylor's belief is that people are lazy, only go to work because they have to, and they only go to work for money. So with this in mind, he believes workers were needed to be closely controlled. They were not able to make decisions for themselves, and they need to be supervised in order for output to be maximised. So he came up with a method of working which is very similar to piece rate. People get paid by how much you produce. If you're lazy, you don't get paid that much. If you're focused and conscientious and hardworking, you will get paid more because you're producing more. Okay, so this can be quite fine if you are motivated by money and you're willing to work hard, but on the other hand, it can be quite hard going, and sometimes you can see this in sort of old-fashioned factory styles where people get paid per how much they produce. So it's very autocratic management style in terms of working. Would you like to be working into this particular situation? I don't think I would. It'd be quite pressurized. You wouldn't feel particularly happy at work. Absenteeism would be quite high, and so would staff turnover. I'm going to pause the video now, and what I'd like you to do is think about the benefits and drawbacks of this particular style of motivation for a firm. Okay, so hopefully you've all had a chance to have a think about the different types, benefits and drawbacks of this particular approach. Okay, so can you now think about how we can apply this to the modern world? I gave an example a few moments ago with regard to thinking about tailor being applied to a factory setting. See if you can think of any other kinds of ways in which tailor can be applied to the modern world. Do you believe that this kind of approach is outdated? Is it still relevant? Okay. I do have an answer for you, and the one that I found with tailor in the modern world is related to Amazon. So Amazon have been heavily criticised for their particular approach to managing staff. They're a hugely successful company, probably even more successful now during lockdown. And I don't know about you, but I've noticed that their prices have risen as well since the start of the lockdown, again, capitalising on society being stuck in and not having very many options in terms of delivery. So not particularly ethical, but again, it's a business. They're capitalising on our situation. So I managed to find a couple of articles which looks at how tailor can be applied and looking at the different culture. If you wanted to do a little bit of your own independent research, you could develop that further and just go and have another look at Amazon, or maybe you've come up with some of your own reasons. Okay, what I'm now going to look at is Maslow. So another approach, completely different to Taylor, and he came up with his own theory of motivation. So Maslow had a hierarchy of needs, and this hierarchy of needs is essentially what all staff at work and human beings have to go through. You can't progress to the next level unless you've completed the level below. So in order for you to reach your true potential, you have to work through each of the different stages of the hierarchy and progress further. So some of you may have seen this hierarchy of needs before. So it starts off the bottom with psychological. So here, if we were just looking at a basic human context, this would be fulfilling our basic needs such as shelter and food. In a work scenario, it would be having a job. Okay. The next one is safety. So safety is making sure that you are safe in your own living environment. So at work, it could be things like job security, knowing that you are going to have a job, knowing that even though you may have been furloughed over this particular lockdown, you still have your job to go back to. Okay. The next stage, once that has been satisfied, you move on to the social level. So this is a case of feeling wanted, a sense of belonging, feeling like you are part of a team. Some people are very happy to work on their own. Others feel more comfortable and can be more successful when they're working with others, they're sharing different ideas, etc. And in order to move on to the next level, you have to fulfill the social level. The next level is esteem. So this is where you get your self-respect. This is your status. So by progressing through the levels and working hard, you can get a degree of status. So you may go to work for your status as being, say, for example, a doctor or a lawyer or a manager, as opposed to being someone who is unemployed and does not have a job. The final one, and the top of the hierarchy, is self-actualization. So this is where you are actually fulfilling your potential as a human being. So you may be taking on new projects at work, you may be diversifying into a different area of your life, but you are actually fulfilling what you set out to do. Okay, what I would like you to do now, I'm going to pause the video. I would like you to have a go answering this examination question. This is where you are looking at the relevance of Maslow in a modern world context. You may argue that, yes, Maslow can be applied, but it is purely theoretical and a direct application may not fully work. But on the other hand, you may argue that, yes, it can be directly applied to it. So I'm going to pause this video and I'd like you to spend about 5 to 10 minutes just thinking about how Maslow can be related. Okay, I'm going to pause the video now. Okay, and hopefully you've all had a good little look at how Maslow can be applied to the modern context. And I'd like to see these answers when we finally do return into school, or you can email them in to me so I can have a look and I can mark them. The next theorist we're going to be looking at is Herzberg. Now, Herzberg had a two-factor theory. He had two factors. One were called motivators and the others were called hygiene or maintenance factors. And his theory basically stated that in order for someone to be satisfied and motivated at work, both factors had to come into play. So if we look at the first one first, the motivators, these are factors that directly make you want to work hard. So if you're given responsibility at work, that's going to give you a sense of self-esteem, a sense of pride, and you're going to want to work harder. If you are recognised, if your boss comes up to you and says, well done, that was a fantastic piece of work, or well done, you did really, really well on that particular pitch, you're going to feel really good about yourself. And as a result, that is going to translate into higher productivity. You're going to work harder, you're going to go above and beyond. However, as well as the motivating factors, Herzberg also believed that hygiene factors had to be satisfied. These are not directly related to washing your hands or using hand sanitizer. My attempt at a lame joke there. These are maintenance factors. So these are the ones that potentially could demotivate you if they are present while you're at work, but they can also sometimes encourage you, not always, to work harder. So these are things like job security, which most of us would like to take as a given, having safe and comfortable working conditions and pay. So the fundamental aspect of Herzberg theory is staff are motivated by using the key motivators, such as opportunities for promotion, giving them responsibility, but the hygiene factors have to be met. Also within this, they can use factors such as job enrichment, trying to enrich someone's work, or empowerment, allowing people to make more decisions for themselves. So that also fits in with Herzberg's theory of motivation. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is I'd like you to think about the difference between each of those on employee motivation. Obviously, you can't do this in pairs, but are the motivators likely to have more of an impact than the hygiene, or vice versa? And if so, why? So pause the video now and have a go answering that task. Okay, hopefully you've come up with some good answers for that. Maybe you've decided that potentially for you that the motivation factors are more important, or some of you may have decided the hygiene factors, or both of them could be important, as Herzberg has stated. Okay, so here is just to summarise Herzberg, key motivating factors and key hygiene factors. I just want to talk a little bit more about employee engagement. So employee engagement is not just being focused on your job. It can be classed in terms of intellectual engagement, thinking about your job and how you can do it better. Something called affective engagement, feeling positive about your job and doing a good job. And also social engagement, having opportunities to share issues with other people at work. All of those can contribute to someone feeling comfortable at work. It can improve productivity, it can improve their motivation, and employees are more likely to want to stay at work and have less absences than people who are not potentially engaged at work. Okay, now we're coming to the last bit of the session. What I would like you to do now is have a go doing this exam question. So, Cheapos is a local supermarket chain which has a reputation for poor customer service. What I'd like you to do is to analyse, with reference to Maslow, how Cheapos could motivate its workers to improve their customer service. So this is a 9-mark question here, and as it is a 9-mark question, you would have 3 marks for knowledge, excuse my spelling, 3 marks for application to context. It's been a long day. And you would have 3 marks for analysis. So have a go answering that question. When you've completed it, if you could send it in to me at school. I'm going to pause the video here and let you have a go. Okay, hopefully you found that really insightful and looking at how Maslow can be applied in a modern day setting to try and motivate people. Obviously, once you've fulfilled their basic needs of providing them with a stable job and job security, making them work as part of a team, giving them responsibility, potentially opportunities for promotion to be a supervisor, or even some kind of management training scheme can help to motivate workers. So I'm looking forward to seeing your answers to some of those questions. Finally, I have some summary questions to summarise this unit. So the first one is looking at the terms of motivation and engagement and just getting a detailed explanation. The next one is looking at the benefits of having motivated staff. Number 3 is comparing and contrasting the views that we've looked at today of Taylor, Elton Mayo, which I haven't covered and which I would like you to do a little bit of research into, and Maslow. Looking at the relevance of Maslow in a work context, which we've discussed earlier, so to just clarify that you understand that. And the last one is to distinguish between both Herzberg's factors and how they affect motivation. Thank you very much for your time. See you soon.